Hello, everyone. I'm Harjit and welcome to Tackling Tech. My colleague Joe Lurie and I are back again with some conversations that we both had at MMS conference in Minneapolis. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Harjit. Thanks for inviting me back. I get to be the first person to be invited back for a second visit, so I'm honored for that.
You and I work really, really well together in so many different things that we do. So I think I call us the dynamic duo.
It's perfect. Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So this is part two, right, of our conversations or interviews that we had with IT pros at MMS. So let's check out the next one. So we're here with Suri and Wally. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Sury. I work with Jay Goldman at a hedge fund in New York. I'm here with Wally, the director.
Yes, Owais Wali, again from J. Goldman out of New York. First time here at NMS. Great experience so far.
Okay.
Great.
So he's the boss man, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So you know all the answers.
He knows all the answers. I just do what he tells me.
you can't fool him. Right? Go ahead with your questions.
So you are using Intune today.
Yes.
Are you using Intune today on your Windows devices, your mobile devices, both, everything?
Yeah, we're using Intune very heavily on our endpoints in general, our media environment. We are
Nice. That was nice plug there. I didn't even know that one.
with an AVD backbone, matter of fact. So we're in the full stack there, leveraging Intune. And we're recently testing more MAM and the MDM policies and configurations within the Intune to onboard our devices, the MDM solution. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And how long have you been working with Intune, like at JP Gold?
At J. Goldman, so in June was
J. Goldman.
Yeah, J. Goldman was our Intune initiative was basically one last year. So we started the initiative, and then we fully onboarded all our endpoints, Azure AD joined, all that good stuff. By the end of last year.
Good. And did it start because of the pandemic, and did that speed things up, or was it?
That definitely had a lot to do with it. I think in general, though, we try to get on top of the technology, again, the Azure stack, the resources that are available. And with that, taking on the full initiative of again, using the take to our advantage.
Good. So what has been the user experience about Windows 11 in the organization?
Honestly, it's been super accepting, no issues, seamless if anything. For users, just the accessibility of Windows 11 has been fantastic so far. Honestly, going from other Windows version, the uplift has been difficult, but when it came to Windows 11, it's been really slow.
Like XP 7, that wasn't as smooth as.
That's a little before my time, but
No, that's probably true as well.
yeah.
For those of us that know, Microsoft did do a good job with that upgrade process. But 10 to 11, not.
No, seriously.
Yeah, and I think it goes to stay with the fact that we know the experiences, right, of upgrading from 7 and on, etc. But while in the testing phases of implementing 11 with the select few individuals in the firm, etc., right, we got the opportunity to understand that it can be a seamless transition. Right? And Windows 11 had a lot to do with that to help us reach that goal of 100% Windows 11 in our environment.
So you're already 100%.
We are 100%.
Awesome.
22 H2 on top of that. So,
And have you implemented the continuous innovation releases?
Are you familiar with continuous innovation?
We looked into that. Yeah, exactly. I think that's something else we're going to follow up with, and obviously a couple of more initiatives to come with Windows 11 and furthermore. So, yeah, we'll be looking into that.
Excellent.
And what about your new devices, like Windows Autopilot to get into Intune and?
Yeah, so we're in two environments. We have physical laptops, which are currently being deployed with Windows Autopilot, and then we also have the cloud PCP infrastructure. That's not using Autopilot, but full.
Not yet.
Not yet.
One day maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not on that team.
And obviously you're using Windows Update for Business, things like that to keep your devices patched.
Yeah, exactly. And we're starting to move forward to Windows auto patching.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we are. So we're in testing phase currently. Looking to deploy it. Hopefully after the next patch cycle.
Okay.
That's great.
Anything else about Intune for you?
Yeah, so my last question, are you familiar with the tools that we've recently started out with the Intune suite for remote help and privilege management? Are you familiar with those tools?
We actually leverage a lot, like I mentioned. We try to stay on top of taking advantage of whatever's offered, especially with the E5 license in all those categories. So remote help is our remote based tool today. It's called a third party in our environment for that. Sorry, the other stuff you mentioned.
Endpoint privilege management that just came a couple of weeks ago.
We're actually in the process of EPM in a trial base today. Again, very similar to AutoPatch. Once we figure out the trials of it, they're in the tribulations to tackle. So we deploy some for one. That's awesome.
That's fantastic. So, those that are resistant or hesitant at this point, it's 2025 state coming soon, right? What's your advice?
I can go first. Yeah, I mean, I think in general, once you have a good, the approach we've taken is a good trial system in place, testing, a good user base in place, who's accommodating and helping you out, helping you understand the hurdles that might come about. And once you get over that phase, you will realize that it is a very easy implementation. There's a lot of value that comes out of that. And that push was just easier for the firm and of course the executives, right? Exactly. You need their input, obviously, right? So, but yes, I think once somebody trials it, you'll see the benefit of it.
It's awesome.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Wally.
Thanks, Sury. Thanks, Wally. Thanks, Harjit.
All right, that was really a good conversation we had with Siri and Wally.
What I really loved about it was when we set out, we're looking for people. Hey, you want to talk to us about Windows? Talk to us about Intune, and yeah, they're great. And of course, as you know, Wally is Sury's boss. But during the conversation, we learned that they're using Windows 365, they're using AutoPatch, they're using some of the Microsoft Intune suite, they're 100% Windows 11. Like that's stuff that we actually didn't know before bringing them on camera. So that was great to listen to them and talk about that.
One of the things I really liked is that, Windows 11 has been very accessible to their organization and their people, right? So that was really nice to hear from them as well. They're also doing Cloud PC and VDI as well, right? Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, it was fun to hear about all the stuff that they're doing, not just like Intune and not just Windows, but all the things that we're bringing into Intune, and they're taking advantage of it. The Windows 365, how easy it is to build that cloud PC, assign a license, get the cloud PC, and again, with Windows Auto Patch and letting Microsoft manage your updates, and they're taking advantage of everything that we're offering them.
Absolutely, I really enjoyed talking to them, and we were seeing them all over the conference. So really happy that we were able to nail them down too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were a good find.
All right, so next let's check out our conversation with Matt.
All right, so Joe, you gotta meet this guy, Matt, right?
Matt, Joe Lurie, nice to meet you.
Yeah, same.
So in case you haven't seen, there's an MMS bot on Twitter. So it thinks, and I don't know how you do it, you can explain it to us, that it checks for all the tweets that come up from MMS,
So I've been tweeting, and I tag, hashtag MMSMOA, and I at MMSMOA, and I get retweeted. I'm like, there's no way MMS is retweeting me. It's got to be a bot.
It's his bot.
But I never actually looked back into it to see how it was retweeted by MMS.
Yeah, so on a weekend, I just had this idea. I wanted to play around with Twitter API in a different way than I had before. And it was like a month before MMS, so I thought, I'll try this, right? So I found a way to search tweets and do like curated content. Original stuff, right? Not stuff from the conference, really organic. And I just quietly let it go out there, and it started getting picked up. And then speakers were like, all of a sudden I had a following, and I never announced it. It just happened, right? And the thing almost has more followers than I do at this point, which is not many. But it's cool because it's just organic. And then I'm like, well, now I have to make stickers. Now I have this 3D printed model.
Nice.
You can totally have
I
that.
definitely think that.
And so it just kind of grew randomly. And I thought about porting it to PowerShell. Actually, the source is not in PowerShell, but all it is just REST calls. It's super simple, but people dig it.
Low code, no code, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of technology, so let's get into it, right?
So what do you do at your company? Are you at your school, right? Are you the Intune guy?
No, so I kind of oversee the fleet for our part of the world.
Okay.
So I'm in higher ed, and we're a very decentralized, distributed, right? So I have a portion of our fleet that I oversee, but I'm not like the guy. I just play one on TV, right? So what I end up doing is sort of overseeing deployments of devices, that kind of, I don't do the button pushing, I make the buttons for folks.
Okay. The devices that you're deploying, are they running Windows? Is your university using like iPad, Mac OS?
So we have a combination of all the above. In our part of the fleet, it's probably 70+% Windows devices. And most of those are running still Windows 10 because higher ed is kind of a monolith and it takes a lot of effort to get people to a different place. But so our replacement cycles are things like attrition. Because a device goes out and it stays healthy, but it's really difficult to claw that back from somebody and say, hey, we're going to upgrade you to something else. Yeah. That's culturally, it's a very difficult thing. Right? Yeah. So,
are your devices, are they professor devices or are they student devices?
So ours are employee devices predominantly. We have labs and things like that, but it's predominantly employees. We don't offer devices to students.
Okay. So what are you hearing about Windows 11 in higher ed? I came from higher ed, so I know what I was dealing with. But what you are hearing from your users or even IT departments about it?
So I don't hear a lot myself, other than I know that our users' personal devices are all running 11. And so we're getting actually to a point now where why is my work computer different than...
You just had the same conversation with somebody else.
Yeah. It's sort of, why is this different? And historically it was more of a, why does this look different? Right? And I can't have it look different. Now all of a sudden it's kind of flipped where they're like, I like it this way.
Yes.
Why are we holding
Why am I using something older when I'm using something newer at all, right? Yeah.
When you deploy Windows, even Windows 10, are you using Autopilot? Are you still using configuration manager? What do you use for your management Windows?
Yeah, so we are still pretty much CM based. So I have a monster task sequence that does it all, right? Which has simplified the process for our techs.
Okay.
Right? They don't have to know much to do it, but we're predominantly CM.
The task sequence, is it like all apps that are being installed? Are they different policies, command lines?
Yes.
Security settings?
There's some security settings. A lot of it has to do with the app stack and some other nuances because I have one task sequence that deals with employees, labs, niche places in the enterprise, and you don't have to know that as a tech where it's going. It just kind of figures it out magically.
So another question, maybe one of the last, so you can ask another one. How can Microsoft help your organization higher ed?
That is my question.
So in terms of some challenges that you guys are facing, whether it's Windows 11, whether it's Intune, be frank about it.
My own personal position is it would be great to have some sort of a tool or something that I could actually look at our fleet as a whole in the old way. And look for problems, right? Like look for things that might be. I know I need to clean up some old group policy stuff. How can I actually find those things and then one-to-one figure out how to do it the new way, right?
There's a couple of things in Intune that can help with that. When you move to Intune, we have something, tenants like you, that can help you say, oh, you have these like security baselines set, but you changed these, but other universities didn't. So do you want to put it back, right? So we have tenants like you that might help. We have proactive remediations, which will help you do things like, hey, look for this setting. If it's configured, then run this script on configure. Look for this app. If it's there, run this script to remove it. And all that gets done without you doing anything, without your agents doing anything, without the user doing anything. At startup, a detection script runs, then a remediation script runs.
Yeah.
So those types of things will definitely help out. And then one other thing that we're doing is Autopilot now has a locking apps. So you can say, I want these 5 apps to install during the rolling status page or ESP. And if they don't install then, continue on error and try it later. but we don't have all those 70 apps that are installed before the user gets their device. These 5, your VPN app, your security app, your whatever finance app, needs to be installed first. And then once they get their device, put the rest down.
Trickles down, right? Yeah. So what's interesting is that part of our organization is already co-managed with Intune. And a week before our MMS, I got asked if I would be interested in piloting it as a non-central unit, so they can work through some of these problems. So yeah, it's kind of exciting to be in a place where I'm able to actually play in that environment, right?
That's nice.
So we are going to get there, yeah, for sure. So,
And then you can play even more with Windows 365, and that's a whole other conversation.
Right. So,
All right, man.
hey,
That was
man,
awesome.
I appreciate
Matt,
it.
thank you for your bot, because it's given me a lot of research.
Perfect.
Cheers. All right, so you ended up getting a little token from Matt, right?
I did. I got the little, he 3D printed his Twitter bot, and I got it as a gift, and I still have it right here on my desk.
Yeah, so he makes his little stickers as well, and and he mentioned that in the beginning, and MMS bot. So it just checks out. He built this whole thing, which is really phenomenal.
For fun. Yeah, he did it for
Yeah,
fun.
just for fun.
Now, Harjit, you work in higher ed just like Matt works in higher ed. So you had a lot to discuss and probably a lot of the same experiences that he had.
Yeah, similar experiences in higher ed when I was there. Adoption is slow. Generally, they take their time, and there's a lot of various partners that are involved. You got faculty, you got staff, you got leadership and stuff like that. So then you have also education things that are happening, right? You got classes that are going on, you got labs and things like that. So you have to be very meticulous on when and how you do your.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's a great place to be, higher ed, if you want to get a lot of experience in a lot of different technologies and management tools in suites. Higher ed's really a great place to get your teeth wet, if you will.
And he's another person who mentioned that their people or their staff are actually using Windows 11 on their personal devices at home, and they're coming into work and they're asking why are they using something different.
That was definitely a recurring theme we heard throughout the conference, and not just these 7 or 8 people we talked to. We heard that at our high top, the CXC high top desk, over and over again. Our customers or our end users are asking us for Windows 11 because they're using it at home. We kept getting that comment. Very recurring.
Yeah. So I'm seeing that there's it's a big push from the end users or people, demanding the new modern technologies from their organization. So that's really humbling to see that. So the other thing that I really liked about this before we move on is that, he brought up that, one of the things or challenges he sees is that he likes to see a tool that can look at his entire fleet of devices and whatnot. Like, for example, like what group policies are stale and things like that. And then you actually kind of guided him on like some of the tools that we already have through Intune.
Yeah, so and it's nice to talk to customers that don't realize we have these tools or they're not using them correctly. And I actually was just on another call earlier, right before we got on this recording, and I was like, yep, you can do it this way, but don't forget there's also these things built into Intune that can help you with the same exact scenario. So I love this. The tool is there, and it's just showing people how to use it properly for what it can already do what they want, probably.
Absolutely.
And they just don't know it.
All right, let's flip over to the last one, and it's with Ricardo.
So, Joe, we have found another friend of ours, Ricardo. Thanks for joining us and talking to us about how you guys do technology, Microsoft Technologies, and your school system in Fresno, right? Fresno. All right.
So you're in Fresno. How big is that school system? Like, how many devices?
We are the 3rd largest school district in California. Roughly about 72,000 students, and then our staff, our teachers, roughly about a little over 100,000 Windows devices.
Over 100,000 Windows devices.
Over 100.
That's pretty big. All right.
And you manage them in Intune.
We manage a combination of, co-manage in a hybrid environment with configuration manager, and we're starting to leverage Intune a little bit more.
Okay, so you're getting your feedback from Intune.
Correct.
All right. So you had, what are you running right now? Windows 11?
Windows 10.
Windows 10,
Windows 10.
but you're upgraded to Windows 11.
We're starting to test in our environment with
Okay.
our devices because we have different models. We want to make sure that all of our applications and everything is going to be compatible. So we're starting to get our feet with Windows 11 before we can start that migration.
What's your plan for that migration? As you start testing, are you planning in-place upgrades, and if so, how? Or are you going to wipe and reset? I mean, what's that plan?
Right. So we keep our options open right now, but we want to prepare for in-place upgrades, clean installations. We may look into autopilot options as well. But the biggest thing is we want to make sure that our hardware is going to be compatible and that the applications that our users are using are compatible.
And how are you verifying those? Are you just trial and error? Are you using test base for Microsoft 365, Aperture?
Yeah, a lot of testing, connecting with our users, getting their feedback. So one of the things that has been working for us is that we have what's called an early adopters group,
Great.
and it's a mixture of some of our teachers, ed tech, even we'll reach out to some department staff that we know they are eager to learn and get the
You
feel
want to
for
try the new things?
the new
Any
technology.
students? I'm just curious about
Not yet,
like
not yet, but that is a
technology
good
students in
idea.
high school, stuff
Right.
like that. Yeah.
It would be a good idea to get students actually involved, right? Because they are really
Yes.
products.
So we would put the changes through them first and then get their feedback
Okay.
and then go from
How are they
there.
reporting that back to you?
We use Microsoft Teams. We create a group and they share their feedback there.
Case for that. So when you're doing your upgrade plans from 10 to 11, what are the tools you might use to do that? For example, Windows Update for Business, or trying it. Yeah.
So those are all conversations that we've been having, right? Whether it's Windows updates for business, possibly looking into auto patch. I mean, what we know right now and what we used from 8.8.1 to Windows 10 was in-place upgrades through the config manager.
We don't mean to laugh when you say
That is our
anything,
last
but-
resort, right? Because we know that, but obviously we would want to use Intune as much as possible.
Just to let you know, the upgrade from Windows 10 to 11, so much better than the upgrade
Yeah,
from Windows
so
8
much
to
It's
better,
getting
so
better.
much better.
It's getting
Yeah.
better.
And then it just keeps that servicing mechanism going
Right.
forward, right?
You don't have any more Windows 8 8.1, do you? You might have a few. Do you have any more?
We might have a few of those
Okay.
users, but a very small number. It
So
was like less than 200.
while you're doing your testing and stuff, and your early adopters and stuff like that, are you hearing any specific issues or roadblocks or things like that things that Microsoft can help?
So we haven't really started that process yet for Windows 11
Okay.
yet, but that's something that we're planning to do this summer or
Okay.
start this summer.
Great. So is that what typically how you do it? You do summertime, Northern Hemisphere summertime, right? You do summertime to do the upgrades. So September they get their new devices, they get the new operating system.
It's for us in a school district, right? Summertime, we have less teachers, less students, no students on campus, so it allows us to do more testing, get ahead of it, and yeah, for our teachers, we usually refresh their devices in the fall, right? We try not to change too many things or introduce too many things in our August timeframe, because that's when school begins.
Right.
We want them to focus on in-classroom instruction.
Okay.
So I think my last question, this 100,000 devices, how many schools, like how many actual physical schools do you have?
So about over 100 schools spread through schools.
And how many of you do you have? How many IT staff?
So our IT staff has grown, so it's a little over 100
Okay.
in the entire umbrella. Yeah, we have a great team and yeah.
We have
Some
thousands
focus on
of
some
users,
areas.
so
Right.
that devices, you need the the labor and the people, right? The skills.
Yes.
All right. So that's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a great week.
You guys didn't ask about the Windows updates.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah,
That's
keep
what sold us
going.
into Intune.
Okay. So talk about it. What about Windows updates?
Right. So we were pulling reports, right, using Power BI to create a dashboard. And one, until you have that data in a visual format, you don't realize, with over 100,000 devices spread over 100 campuses, we realized that about 47% of our devices were running a version of or a build of Windows 10 that was end
That
of
is
life.
End of life.
And that was for us was like, wow, especially our security team was like, well, that's not
Your
good.
security team's still running Windows 8 8.1.
And it was like, no, that's not good. And that's when we decided, okay, we're going to leverage Windows Updates for Business. So in June of 2023, 24 or 22, we turned it on. And as of a couple of weeks ago, when we checked again, we went from that 47%, we're down to under 8%.
That's
Wow, that's awesome.
So more than 40,000 devices.
So
have been
Windows 10 version 22H2
updated.
is the last version of Windows 10.
Correct.
So that'll even help you even more get
It
that
will,
last
it will.
8%. You don't have to worry about catching
It
up with
will.
everyone else as
So we
well.
went from over 40% to 8% in just this short duration.
Correct.
That's
6 months, basically.
Yeah, that's great.
With minimal to almost no cost to our help desk, right? No disruption that we heard of. And they all got feature upgrades, right? So their devices were getting upgraded.
right.
Yeah.
And this is just by using Windows Update for Business.
Yeah,
Windows
that's
Updates for
awesome.
Business.
Love it. I love hearing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Thank you.
great. Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Ricardo.
All right. Cheers.
I can't help but laugh with Ricardo, and we laughed in the middle of that when he said that they're still using some Windows 8 and 8.1 devices, and I don't know.
I know
why
you,
that
both
cracked me
you
up.
and I
That
had a
cracked me
smirk when he said that, and we were like, no, we're not laughing at you. This
up.
just
Right.
happened. But what really excited me is that when I met him, or when we both met him, was that when he said, his organization or his company is basically the third largest school district in California,
Yeah.
with over
Like,
100,000.
with a hundred different locations, 100,000 devices in 100 different locations. I'm like, really? Fresno, California is that big? I had
It's
no idea.
unbelievable.
No
So
idea.
the numbers are really, really high, and they're a big Windows shop. They're still on Windows 10. They're working slowly on, moving to. They have a project to move on to Windows 11. They're testing some applications and things like that.
And I like what he said was that they're using some faculty and they're using some of their tech students, right, to do that. And we would just call that friends and family. We have our friends and family, right? All those people close to the IT department that either won't complain or will complain loudly, but they want to test these new features. And he found his friends and family through some students, through some faculty, to do that testing, and they're underway with
Oh
that
yeah, it's
testing.
amazing. I love their approach on how they do that. What better way to actually get some people to use the tools and then let you know. And one of the ways, so we asked him, how are you getting the feedback? And he says through Teams, Microsoft
Through
Teams.
Microsoft Teams. We have a Microsoft Teams channel spun up. I'm like, oh, that's
That's
great. I mean, honestly, behind the scenes, we are just asking people, hey, would you like to share some experiences? And then we're finding out so
yeah,
much more that they're doing than we even expected
yeah,
to
and
learn
and
about.
and people are using our Microsoft tools in ways that sometimes we don't even think about, or they become so productive and efficient with some of these like Microsoft Teams.
What was funny at the end, we're like, all right, thanks for coming. And he goes, wait, you didn't ask me about Windows updates. And we're like, okay, talk to us about Windows updates. It was so funny because I thought we did talk about Windows updates in the beginning, right? And then,
Yeah, he really
wait, you
wanted to
didn't
talk
talk
about
to us
Windows
about Windows
updates,
updates.
and we were shaking his head, and then he's like, "Wait, hold on."
I know, yeah, wait, I'm not done yet.
That's awesome. So these are the kind of conversations that I really enjoy, and I know you do as well. They are
Yeah.
raw, they are unplanned. These are exactly what they're saying is what they're saying, and
Yeah, you can tell these were not scripted
No.
conversations. We didn't hand someone say, "Hey, read this. We're going to
Yeah.
ask you these questions." Unscripted, had no idea, and even you and I didn't really
We didn't.
script
We just went with
anything.
the flow.
You're like, so
Yeah,
yeah, just go with the
exactly.
flow. Yeah.
All right, Joe, this has been awesome. Great part 2. We're going to get you back again for sure. And you're going to be the soloist and to share some cool technology. And
I really appreciate you inviting me on for both 2 episodes so far, and I've got little notches on my desk. That's the second one, and we'll see how far I
all
can
right. See you next time, Joe. Cheers. Thank you for watching Tackling Tech. I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned something new. Please like and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the latest episodes. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for future episodes, please let us know in the comments below. You can also follow me on Twitter for more updates and behind the scenes looks of Tackling Tech. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.